Hello and welcome. It's December 4th, day 4 of our COVID Christmas books. I'm Pauline. I run the Scrapbook Room, a mobile and online scrapbook store, and I offer inspiration and friendship in the Scrapbook Playroom, a private Facebook group for paper crafters just like you. Let's get started with today's lesson. Today we're talking about Christmas cards. And by that I mean cards that you are either mailing or receiving in the mail. Wait, is that even a thing, mailing Christmas cards? Do you think it depends on if you send any, whether you'll get any? What are your thoughts? Have you received any cards yet? And just how important is mailing these cards during COVID times? Are you mailing cards and packages? Have you received something in the mail? I received a parcel from my sister-in-law yesterday, and it really is a thrill to get an unexpected package in the mail. And I think that's something worth documenting. As much as mailing cards is not a thing like it was 30 years ago, perhaps in the future there will be no such thing. So yes, let's keep talking about it today. So how many cards do you send? Are they only sent out of town? Do you remember the days of sending lots of cards? Do you send a card out to someone only if they send you one? Or do you feel guilty if you get one and didn't send one to the person? Such a conundrum. So tell all, where do you stand with Christmas cards? Are you sending any out this year? And is this decision affected by COVID-19? Perhaps because you're not seeing people that you normally would see. I think it might be interesting to do an album based on these same prompts next year when COVID is over. We can only hope it's over. It'll be interesting to see, though, what's changed both after COVID and because of COVID. One other thing you could think about today is how you display your cards. Do they get a prominent place in your home? If you have a wall of them, take a photo of them. I saw this display, and I couldn't help but thinking about scrapbookers. How many of you have a tool such as this to hang your supplies on? What a cute way to hang your Christmas cards. So if you have one of these, clear all that other stuff off and use it. I remember my mother hanging a string across the living room walls so the cards could be draped over it to display. It was exciting as kids to go get to hang the cards on the string when they arrived. What wasn't a thrill was how annoying it got to have to sit and write and address all those cards for her. I guess it was a compliment to my penmanship back then. Nowadays, I'm thrilled if I even get a card in the mail. And though I don't have a string, I do usually tack them to the door frame or bulletin board. So if you're mailing cards, take a picture of the stack before you mail them. And if you received any, share them. And yes, I mean by that adding them to your album. In my mini album today, I'm making a pocket to put the cards in. I made the pocket, where are we here? Here it is. I made it slightly wider than the page so that I could put little folds, and that will allow for a little more bulk in the pocket. I also mitered the edges at the top so they'd fold in neater. And I will peel the tape off, put that down. Before I put that down, I should have done this first. I wanted to put a little notch for the pocket, and I don't do any measuring, just eyeball like so. And my punch doesn't want to work. You get the picture. We're gonna have to fix that up because we need it. So to fix that up, I'm just gonna put another paper under. Let's switch this off. Put that there. Just give it a little more weight, might help it go through a little easier. Try line it back up, like so, and punch, and that's much better. And then we can put it in place. And we've got our pocket. Okay, so as you can see, a little bit of bulk here. And I don't worry too much about being exact, as I said. I'm also going to put a little tag in here just to kind of show that it is a pocket. I will take this little note that says place a small card for place small cards, extra photos, or addresses for next year in here. And I'm just going to attach that so it doesn't get lost and stick it in the pocket. My page just needs the number and it's good to go. For my own album, I'm going to save a spot for my card from Ray. I've got my note here already. She's also sent a gift, and I'm suspecting it may be Purdy's chocolates, so I think I'll be able to add some of the packaging onto this page. And who knows, if I have more cards, maybe I'll make a pocket for them too. In fact, she actually sent a pound of coffee too. It's not wrapped, I wasn't peeking. So maybe I could use that packaging to hold cards if I get any more. Round is subtle enough. And I won't mind covering it. I also know that the card is a bit bigger, but just slightly. And I'll be able to trim a little bit off the top and bottom to make it fit. One final thing to keep in mind as you prep for your card pages is to keep an eye on postage stamps. Tearing these off, especially when they have seasonal images on them, they're a perfect addition to your page, as you can see. So, even though I may not be doing this album in December, it's going to be so easy to quickly assemble and finish come January, and that's because of my pre-planning. I think anytime you can pre-plan your album, it takes the load off what you have ahead. When there's a beginning and an end, it's much easier to envision finishing. Everyone agree with that? I'll be right back with a few tips for how to use cards in your books. Okay, on to our tips for using cards. First up, I wanted to show you that you can use cards on album covers. These are 3 journals that are currently for sale in my shop. They're called junk journals, made with different vintage pages. But it's the covers that I wanted to show you today. So the first one is a tree card that I've stitched onto this craft text fabric, and then I covered inside so you can't really tell that it's been sewed on. But yeah, it looks pretty cute on there and feels very durable. I can't resist picking up a box of pretty cards in January sales, and that means I've also always got some on hand to mail out. In this book, I stitched around the card, and then I actually glued it onto the book. It looks sewed, but it's not. It was glued. And then I did a light coat of a clear coat finish just to give it a little toughness, and it also actually ended up adding some really pretty texture. So that's another one. This card is actually the album cover. I scored on each side of the fold, you can see here, stitched it to toughen it up a bit, and then I created the book to sew the pages into. So again, a really pretty card. I glued on the foam deer I had here. The card was just the trees, but it works. I have this little drummer boy card, and you could simply use this card. If you don't want the verse, you could cover it with the journal spot or a little decorative item or a photo or image. And that looks really cute, and you can attach that to your book. And another one I have is this Making Spirits Bright card. And with a card like this, you could simply cut an image off and use it just like any other decorative scrapbooking piece. Now, I did pre-cut a little bit to save time, but I wanted to show you how you could do this. And this type of cutting is called fussy cutting. And I wanted to show you this. To fussy cut an image from the card, it's best to use smaller scissors with a pointy end. And rather than trying to turn your hands in the scissors, remember to turn the card. See, I'm not trying to go around like, oops, hitting the camera. I'm turning the card, which makes cutting, my hand is still straight, and I'm cutting this way. See, turn the card. And we have a couple more now here. When you get where it's harder to get up, go in like this, and then cut your piece off. If you need to do any little touches, you can do that after. Again, I'm going to go straight across here, which will give me my piece. Now I can finish the cutting. And there, that'll be a perfect little addition to a card. So again, take small snips, stop and turn, or cut from a different angle, and then cut and fine tune the pieces after you have it out. Okay. And another thing you can do is to make a card into a pocket. In this book, I took the card and I made it into a pocket here, simply by gluing along the bottom of the card. And this is actually attached as a page, but you could glue along this page and leave this open. I did also do the little cut for to make it easy to get at, and I put a little bit of a lining in the pocket there. And as you can see, extra pictures on the front and back. So slide that in there, and done. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is about attaching cards to your book. First up, I'll take my album here. We'll take a look at this beautiful vintage card I have. So if I wanted to attach this to the book, I could do a couple things. I could put it like this, glue it to that page so that it, come over here so you can see, so that it flaps open. On this side, of course, I'd have the card. Now, depending what you have, you might like that. You could simply attach it with some strips of washi tape. It would run across like so. And hold it in place. I may even leave this in here for future use. Or you could lay the front of the card, I'm going to do this right now, down here, there. But I am going to leave this in my book for now, like so that you can see that. Okay, another thing you can do is simply score the card, which I've done with this one, in along the edge, so that it creates a hinge. So when you would attach on that score line, your card would still flip. You'd have this, 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 and this for space. To cover any writing you don't want, you can simply cover it with some kind of tape or a journal spot. We'll do this one here. And go. If you're putting a photo in, it wouldn't really matter. You could cover it that way. The other thing I'll do with this one is trim the card to create a flap of about 3/4 of an inch here. Let's do that right about there. Okay. And now we have that we can attach to our page like this. If you don't want that to be seen, you can simply cover it, and somewhere here I have a page to do that, I think. There we go. There we are. So we would attach, glue your page down, and you'd never know it's there. The other way to do that would be to do it from this side, so that I would slip over here and page covering goes in here, in here, like so. Once you've attached your card, you can also add a strip of washi tape down there to make it look decorative. So that was a little bit jumbled up, but hopefully it was enough to give you instruction on what to do with cards. I just also wanted to point out the other thing I will do with this one is cut it off. And I'm going to do that right here. And there we go. I've just managed to miss the words. I love that. So cute. Now it could attach to any page here, just like so. When I flip it open, just an extra little spot to journal on this side. If I run a strip of tape down, you'll never notice it's there. So very cute way to use cards. So think of that when you get your Christmas cards this year. Look at all the decorative pictures and images. Think about what you can use. Throw them in a box. As I always say, save your money for other scrapbook supplies and use what you can. So also now, after you're done your pages, why not mail a card to someone you won't be seeing this Christmas? Who knows? Maybe they'll send you one back. See you tomorrow.